What's up, sports bettors? I got a lot of plays on a lot of books for Monday Night Football. So, my last pick, actually, in this 6-pick flex play to cash big is Paris Campbell under 36 half receiving yards. I gave this play out previously, but I have a bunch more that we're going to go through in this video. So, let's go ahead and let's get into it. Let's take a look at the odds. So we can start out with the money line. Not much has changed. Yesterday, the Chargers were best offered at minus 190. Lines are moving in favor of the Colts. Yesterday, Ballybet was offering the best price on the Chargers at minus 200. Now, Pinnacle's all the way down to minus 191. So lines are moving towards the Colts, right? Line movement can occur at any time. This market's dynamic, just like the price of a stock fluctuates due to supply and demand. It's the same in sports betting. More money comes in on the Colts, books move lines in favor of the Colts. But anyways, let's go ahead. Let's get into the plays. There are a bunch of different strategies. I say this all the time, but for finding profitable bets, one thing you can do is you can just search manually. Like you can be like, wow, the Chargers, they're only minus 3.5 right here on DraftKings. Most books have them minus 4. So if the Chargers win by 4 points, which is the difference between a field goal and a touchdown, we're going to win if the Chargers win by 4 on DraftKings. Whereas everyone who bets on the sports book, minus 4, they'd push. They wouldn't win. It would be a tie and they'd get refunded. So we'd find a spot with value. And as a sharp bettor, we're always looking for value. We're always looking through the market, looking for an edge. You want to take the over, you should be betting it on BetMGM, minus 110. And it may be like, oh, what's the difference between over 44 half and over 45 half? What's the probability the game ends up with exactly 45 points? It's probably higher than you think. And like these differences in odds really is what changes you from being, a sharp bettor who makes money in the long run to a losing sports bettor. Nobody wins every day. But anyways, let's go ahead. Let's get into it. So the tool we'll start out with is the positive expected value tool. And I have 2 bets, right? So I say this all the time, but like these sports books have so much crap you can bet on. Like just looking at Caesars, you see all these alternate spreads, total points. You want to bet over 35, over 41, over 50.5. You can bet on so much stuff. And this is just mainline markets, right? Like there's tons of different things. These sportsbooks have 50,000 odds on their site. Caesars may have like 4,000 odds just for this game, right? Look at all this different stuff you can bet on. So they can't keep everything in check. Sharp actions coming in, lineups are changing, weather's changing. Like they're pretty good at making money off the average bettor, but they screw up occasionally, right? So the first prop that I found are these 2. So Alec Pierce over 2.5 receptions at minus 139 and Zach Moss over 55.5 rushing yards at plus 114. And here are the profit margins on both plays. So this percent column just indicates profit margin, which is also known as edge or EV percentage, right? So 3.53% profit margin on Zach Moss over 55 half rushing yards, and I ended up locking in both for 250. So I essentially view this as like, forming my own portfolio of mathematically profitable bets. Like I'm forming my own hedge fund. A lot of these plays I gave out on Twitter, I gave out on, YouTube. You can see a bunch of bets we don't win every day, but because all my plays have an edge, I win long term. And that's basically how I treat my sports betting. I treat it like an investment. I'm not betting on Alec Pierce because I want to watch him or because I have I watched his highlights and I like him. There's no BS here, right? FanDuel has this minus 166. Every book is pricing this minus 162 to minus 175. We caught Caesars asleep at the wheel, giving us a mathematical edge that we can quantify 1.19%. We have tons of videos on the OddsJam YouTube kind of explaining how to calculate this edge. Ridiculously good. I mean, 27 cents of improvement from FanDuel, from DraftKings, we're getting a lot of improvement with 36 cents. So this bet is clearly very much so an outlier at minus 139. And kind of the way I view it is like, wow, imagine there were 15 different prices for Bitcoin and, all these different stock exchanges are telling you the price. That's kind of how I view this, right? FanDuel's telling us this is worth 166, DraftKings 175, Barstool 162. They all have their complex models. They're taking bets. They're moving around lines. very sophisticated. They've invested hundreds of millions of dollars into their ability to set lines. So the easiest way to make money is you just like look for these clear outliers that beat the vig, beat the juice, and very clearly have an edge. You know, you're day trading sports. This isn't really like handicapping, right? This is frickin' sports betting. This is how the sharps do it, the pros do it. They're following the market, following the line movements, and day trading these books, finding spots with value. You know, what the sports books put out, like a lot of people will be like, oh, FanDuel puts out these crazy 15-leg parlays. It's like, yeah, FanDuel is your enemy. They're trying to make money off you. So you should not listen to their content, right? Like, so these are the first two plays I went with. And again, like I say this all the time too, but I'm just trying to show you guys what I'm putting my own money on. That's all I'm showing in these videos, right? I put 250 on each, right? Here's the profit margin from OddsJam. So our Zach Moss one had a higher profit margin, but again, I want more bets with an edge, and I want to be highly confident that my bet is good. This bet on Alec Pierce, I'm so confident is good. It's insane. We're getting minus 139. All the books have it minus 162 or worse. So clear value, 3.53% profit margin, 250 stake. You know, these look wrong, so let's make sure this formula is right. So to get your profit margin quantified in dollars, you just multiply your edge, so the percent column, by your stake, right? So I dropped 250 bucks on both. So my profit margin for both plays is 1180, right? This just adds up, you know, these columns. So 250 stake, 3.53% edge, 883 in profit margin on this bet. So this bet's obviously better. I mean, it has a higher profit margin, right? And so what this means is like, if you tried to give me a $10 bill, I wouldn't, you know, give you my bets, right? So you may be like, well, why didn't you put $1 million on it then if this edge scales? And it's like, well, there's risk management, right? You got to manage your bankroll. Like I want to form a portfolio. You can see I got some college football. I got some other player props. I got, you know, some promos. I got some more college football. I got some UFC. Like I'm forming a portfolio of sharp data-driven bets with an edge. And that's how I make money sports betting. And it's really that simple. Like I show on Twitter all the time, like I'm on all these verified bet trackers, is it's not all, you know, freaking roses and butterflies. Like there are downswings, there's variance, you'll lose some bets in a row. Just because a coin is weighted in your favor, just because a play has an edge, doesn't mean it's guaranteed to win. But these are the first two plays I went with. Here are profit margins, and this is why you should get Caesar Sportsbook, right? Like a lot of people are shocked, like, why would I want to get multiple sports books? Why shouldn't I just have one? And it's like, frickin' look at this. Mo Alley Cox, anytime TD, is plus 850 on FanDuel. Betway has it plus 475. DraftKings plus 450. BetMGM has it plus 290. Plus 290 to plus 850, that's a pretty big difference, right? So if you're just betting on BetMGM and you're betting on Mo Alley Cox, score a touchdown at plus 290, I mean, you are getting ripped off. You are getting ripped off, right? You got to find value in the market. So let's keep going because there are some really interesting plays on Prize Picks and stuff. So first, let's start out with this screen. This is called the OddsJam screen. And what I like to do with this screen, what's really interesting, so it looks like it's going to reload here, is the EV tool is really cool because it allows you to like compare lines kind of set at the same level. So for example, I went with Mike Williams under 4.5 receptions on Prize Picks, as well as these other ones, Keenan Allen over 5.5 and Ben Simmons under 6.5. You know, EV betting is not hard. Just hit the bet in bold with a circle around it. So I took all three of these kind of in a Prize Picks entry, right? It says 5 or 6 pick flex. So in a 5 or 6 pick flex, you're getting minus 119 implied odds. So this is what I went with. And you can see FanDuel has it minus 172, Caesars minus 160, Pinnacle minus 175. So there's a little bit of disagreement in the market. You know, Barstool and BetOnline only have it minus 130, but Sportsbook started ripping lower on Mike Williams receptions. You know, lines moving. And I was able to lock this in. Looks really good as well. Like really high profit margin. So again, like not every bet is going to have a 6% profit margin, but it's okay to take some of the lower ones, right? Like you also have to remember this game is today. If you could earn 1% even a day with your sports betting, if you had 1% edge profit margin on all your plays, just imagine 1%. Every day you bet, all your plays have 1% return. your bankroll in a year is up 365%. 1% a day. There's sports every day. Like, these returns are daily. This game isn't, 2 months away. Like, when people talk about 8% returns a year in the stock market, if you get 1% a day in sports betting, that's 365% a year. Insane. So 3 plays I went with on Prize Picks from the EV tool. But again, like, I say this all the time too, there's a lot of ways to skin the cat. There's not just, necessarily one solution. So what the screen is useful for is kind of like comparing lines set at different levels. So I'll give you an example. If it's still available, it is. So PG3, you can see his assist line is 5 on Underdog Fantasy right here. All of the sports books and Prize Picks, a direct competitor to Underdog, have his line at 5.5. Seems like there's some value taking him over 5 on Underdog. Does that make sense, right? Like, we want to take him over 5. All the sports books, Prize Picks, a direct competitor, are telling us, yo, this line should be 5.5. Granted, the books have the under slightly juiced, but still not that much. Like, Caesars has this plus 102, minus 112 on the books. Like, clearly over 5, like where we get the push, if George has exactly 5 rebounds, they're off from the market. The line is off. The line should be 5.5, like Prize Picks in the books, but the line is 5, so it's too low. So you want to hit the over, right? You want to hit the over. Does that make sense? If not, feel free to comment questions. You can join the Odds Jam Discord in the description. Just a community of sharp bettors. You can see lines move, right? These lines are, you can see red, green, these lines are always freaking moving. Like, so many people think great lines last forever and odds are static. They're not. They're not. Lines are always moving. So, and you can see that all over the screen, especially after injuries. You see after a player gets injured, everything has to move, right? If Ben Simmons is out, everyone's player props have to change. Who's going to get more rebounds? This freaking, the board lights up. You can see right now it's moving, But anyways, let's keep going. So we can go to rebounds too. There were some decent plays here. You can see George, Simmons, they're both at 6. The books are setting them at 6.5. Let's see if there's anything else interesting out there. There may be, there may not be. We'll take a quick peek. Doesn't seem like there's a ton, so let's just move on. Boom, boom, and let's go to, well, there were some interesting plays I had. So I took these EV plays. Let's just go to my Prize Picks entry. So again, plays I have on Caesars, and this is why you get more sports books. Like, I say this all the time, like here, the value's on Prize Picks. You can get Mike Williams under 4.5 receptions at minus 119. If you were placing your bet on Caesars, you're getting a ripped off price. You got to treat your sports betting like an investor if you want to make money. You're looking for value. You're looking for an edge. If you're placing bets at minus 160, when you could get it minus 119, you're getting ripped off. You're going to get screwed. You're going to lose long term because you're getting ripped off. Right? So, it's okay to handicap sports. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, you're boring. You don't talk about the sports. And it's like, okay, but I make money. And like, that's what I'm focused on, is teaching you how to make money and like the strategies to make money. So anyways, 3 EV plays I went with, so you can kind of like remember these. Williams under, Allen under, Simmons under. But here's where it gets interesting. So let's go to, because this one's pretty interesting, is, again, this is the last play I need for the 6-pick flex, Paris Campbell under 36.5 receiving yards. What I need for this 5-pick flex play, also would like to shout out myself, we cashed the biggest entry we had yesterday on Underdog Fantasy, 12K hit. Right there. Jaw over, Dinwiddie over, Patrick Beverly lower. This was a big, big, big hit. But anyways, let's go back to Prize Picks. So I took Zach Moss under 59.5 rushing yards. So you may be like, wait, you took the over 55.5. I middled it. So if Zach Moss has, 56, 57, 58, 59 rushing yards, then I'm going to win my over and I'm going to win my under. Right? So I ended up middle betting this, but this is the play that's interesting. Pittman and Everett to not score a touchdown. both of them cannot score a touchdown. So I used the Betfair exchange where you can see right here. So Pittman this is in decimal odds, and I know this, the strategy is starting to get a little more complicated. So I appreciate you guys bearing with me. These three are EV plays, This play I found on the OddsJam arbitrage tool, I believe, right here. So FanDuel started ripping lines lower. So I don't know. Zach Moss's rushing yards line has been moving around today, but I got a nice middle on, so I'll take it. And let's keep going. So what I ended up taking is Pittman and Everett both to not score a touchdown. So you can see here, Pittman is offered to score a touchdown at plus 200. This is in decimal odds on the Betfair exchange, right? Someone is betting on him not to score a touchdown at minus 400. So someone's willing to, so the market is plus 200 minus 400. This is in decimal odds, plus 200 minus 400. So what you can do is you could go to a Novig fair odds calculator. And this is where it starts to get a little complicated, but hey, it's a strategy video. So the market is plus 200 minus 400. So Pittman, has a 70.59% chance of not scoring a touchdown. So, okay, we can put that in here, equals 70.59. So that's the probability Pittman doesn't score a touchdown. Now we need it for the second player, who I believe is Everett. So, okay, we need the probability Everett doesn't score a touchdown. Well, this market's only one way, plus 440. So what you can do is you can go here and you can say, okay, where is, where you want to look at Everett. So Everett is offered at plus 430 on FanDuel to score a touchdown. So these are one-way markets. Unlike an exchange, you can't bet the under. You can't bet on FanDuel Gerald Everett to not score a touchdown. You have to bet him only to score a touchdown or not bet it. It's only on these exchanges you can't. But we can assume, FanDuel's not going to give us plus 430 on Everett to score a touchdown, if he actually should be if his fair line is to not score a touchdown is worse than minus 430. So what you can assume is okay, in the worst case, he's basically 81% to not score a touchdown. I mean, FanDuel is giving you plus 430, which means they think this is a bad price for him to score a touchdown. So plus 430 implies an 18.9% chance he scores. So basically, what we end up having is two players who are 57% to both not score. Here's the probability, and I'd say it's pretty conservative, for both of them to not score. So this bet has a 57% chance of winning, 57.27. And if we go back here, and then you go to an odds converter calculator, and you put in 57.27, that would imply a fair line of minus 134. And again, in a 5-pick flex or a 6-pick flex, we're getting minus 119. Really complicated compared to most plays. You do not need to know that. When I'm looking for bets, 99% of my bets are from one of two places. Either the EV tool right here. I'm literally just taking the bet in bold with a circle. That simple. Highest profit margin plays first. So I took these two on Underdog Fantasy, and I know, slightly lower profit margin, but it says 3 or 5 pick. We need 3 picks or 5 picks. So I took these two, right? Or I'm finding my plays on the screen, right? I'm looking for massive discrepancies kind of right here, just looking for where sportsbooks are setting the line at different levels. So what you'll notice here is the Mike Williams line ended up moving lower. Initially, remember, if you go back in this video, I think Barstool and BetOnline were minus 130. They ended up ripping lower to minus 170, minus 150. This line keeps moving lower on Mike Williams. So sharp action is pounding his under. Sharp action is pounding his under. All the sports books are going, minus 130 to minus 140 to minus 150 to minus 160 to minus 170. And we're able to get minus 122 on Underdog, minus 119 on Prize Picks. They're asleep at the wheel. They were too slow. We beat them. This is day trading sports. So again, And I'll say this all the time, but let's go here to like passing yards. The reason I use this screen, so we can go here to like, yeah, let's go to player passing yards. The screen and the EV tool make up 99.9% of my bets. The EV tool is the easiest to use, right? I love the EV tool. You just filter for the books you use, and then you hit bets. And you want as many sports books as possible. You never know, like sometimes the value is going to be on Ballybet, sometimes BetMGM, sometimes FanDuel. You know, you've probably seen me do bets on all these freaking platforms. At some point, I probably have done a bet on every single one of these platforms. You never know where the value is going to be. Right here, the value is on Prize Picks and Underdog. So I hit it on both platforms. I maxed it on both platforms. 3-pick or 5-pick flex, 5 or 6-pick flex on Prize Picks you want to place, 3 or 5-pick on Underdog. Right? So it's literally just the bet in bold with a circle around it. That's my betting strategy. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like I'm not smarter than the sports books. I'm not smarter than the market. All this sharp action is pounding down Mike Williams to minus 175. Yeah, I want to bet it minus 122. It's just logical. So logical, right? You don't have to understand the fancy formulas to back out your edge. It's just freaking logical. Find value in the market, right? Just makes sense. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, the OddsJam column, we just copy the Pinnacle column. You have 5 sports books all telling you to pound Mike Williams under 4.5 receptions. So you should pound it. We're getting minus 122. This is the sharpest bookmaker in the world. They have this 175. You know, it's like someone telling you, yo, you know, it's like if all the smart people or all the stock exchanges are telling you Bitcoin is trading at, you know, $25,000, and then Underdog Fantasy lets you buy Bitcoin for $10,000. It's like, yeah, I mean, based on where it's trading in the market on these big sports books, these efficient betting markets, this is a no-brainer. So the EV tool is useful for comparing prices where lines are set at the same level. Like every book grades Williams' receptions in the same way. If he has 5 or more receptions, the over wins and the under loses, and vice versa, right? If he has 2, 3, whatever, under 4.5, the under wins, 4 or less, and the over loses. So all these bets are exactly the same. They're graded in the same way. So we're comparing the price on the bets, right? We're comparing apples and apples. So we want to compare the price of the apples. Now, what's different about the screen is it kind of shows you where books have the line set at different levels. So you can see Foles, he's 222.5. That's where his line is. On Prize Picks, he's 231.5 on Underdog. That's not the same bet, right? You're not comparing. It's not Mike Williams over 4.5 receptions, where all books have his line at 4.5. We're comparing Nick Foles, 222.5 versus 231.5. So if you bet the over 222.5 and he has 225 yards, you're winning. If you bet over 231.5, you'd lose. So you're not comparing apples and apples, right? So the screen is useful for finding big discrepancies where sportsbooks are setting the line at vastly different levels, right? So here you can see most sportsbooks have the line around 230, and you can get 222.5 over on Prize Picks, which doesn't seem terrible. So on Prize Picks, again, here's what I went with. Simmons under, Allen over, Williams under. These were the 3 EV plays. Again, the Williams play is incredible. I middled Zach Moss under 59.5 rushing yards. And then I took Pittman and Everett to not score a touchdown. With our little complex math, but hey, why not? It's fun. It's a Monday. We got to gamble. And then on Underdog, another platform you should have, because again, great bets, you know, you never know what platform they're going to be on. Here, the value's on, you know, Underdog and Prize Picks. Here, you can't bet McCollum over 4.5 and get a positive EV play with an edge on Prize Picks. The bet's not on Prize Picks, right? So here's what I ended up going with on Underdog. Williams under, 4.5 receptions. McCollum over, 4.5 rebounds. Grant over 4 rebounds. So this play was from the screen, and then 2 EV plays. Let's make some money.